So, a sustainable leader to you is... ... Fill in the blank on that one.
For the record, what are you getting your master's in?
I'm getting my master's in adventure education. That's the specific title.
What'd you study in university?
I studied environmental science at University of Virginia. Did that while I was playing soccer.
Ah, you played soccer.
Yeah.
You never told me that you were, like, I was like, is he like a former athlete, or is he just like been an extreme athlete his whole life?
No,
I can't.
I was a soccer player and played soccer from the time I was 5, like all the way through college, and then coached afterwards.
That's cool.
Yeah, I was a goalie. Good times. Miss it.
You miss it?
Yeah, sometimes. Just I miss like the locker room and
the boys.
Yeah, I miss the boys. I miss the boys. But the kayaking was, I started kayaking like as soon as soccer was over or winding down. Actually, I was going back for like a 5th season, and I was 22, finishing up my 4th year, and I was taking one more semester, and because I had redshirted and I was hoping to start, and so I was wrapping up, and I saw this kayak outside a shop, like the local outdoor shop, and I think it was like the summer or 2 summers before I'd been rafting for the first time. And I just I'd never really been around rivers that much. And I was from Charlottesville. The mountains always, and creeks and like streams, but not like a big river like the New River, and which is in West Virginia, like 3 hours west of Charlottesville. And so I went out with my girlfriend and one of my best friends at the time, and we got on this rafting trip and camped out, and we just had a blast. And it was amazing. I loved it. But I saw this guy kayaking on the river, I remember, and he did this cartwheel, which is like the boat, different play boats, like they'll have like a squashed bow and stern, so you get the boat up on end and like you do a cartwheel with the boat. And I was like, what in the world what the heck? I was like, asked the guide, I was like, what the heck is that? And I was always the kind of guy, I was like, too cool to be on the guided trip, like I didn't really want to be on the guided trip, and I was like, wanted to be on the kayak, and I remember being like, wow, that is awesome. And I was a surfer. Like I was really into surfing and mountain biking and skiing and snowboarding at the time, but kayaking had never even come across my radar screen. I knew what a kayak was. That was about it. And so I saw this kayak at this outdoor shop, and I think that was around the time I had started fishing with like my weightlifting coach. We went on this canoe trip and fished, and then like pretty soon thereafter I saw this kayak, and I was like, I'm getting it. And I just walked into the store, threw down the card, and I think I threw down the credit card, like the kayak, a spray skirt, a helmet, and a paddle. And I walked out, and I was like, it had been raining, and I was like, all right, I'm going kayaking. I just got this kayak. I went to this river. It was like super brown and flooded, and I remember getting like, I really wanted to go down this river, and I got all agitated because I couldn't figure out how to put the gear on, and I was like, I finally figured it out, and I just got in, and I paddled like 24 miles or something down this river, and it was like no real rapids, but just like quick moving water. And I remember paddling the side and getting out at one point because there was like a rapid I thought was big, and then I like lost my cell phone in the water and like got out at this park that I grew up playing soccer at, and like hiked to this payphone and called my mom, and I was like, I just kayaked like 25 miles. She was like, what? What's wrong with you? It's a frequent question my mother asked me when I was growing up.
You're a spontaneous type of dude.
Pretty spontaneous.
Spontaneous energy.
I feel like a lot of my 30s so far are figuring out how to put that spontaneous energy in a little bit more of a container, because I think the river the river did that a little bit for me because I was, you know, I was this wild man, you know, playing soccer in college and took, you know, all my courses were environmental studies and I liked all that, but I had no idea what I was going to do with any of it, what I was going to do with it. And so I was pretty lost. When I got out of college, I was just like, all right, now what? I remember like just being drawn back outside though. And I felt like as much as you know, I loved being a part of the soccer team and I loved school, like I just wanted to I wanted to define myself differently. Didn't want to go to law school. I didn't want to be a doctor. I didn't want to go work on I didn't want to do any of those things. I wanted to, I don't know. I was looking for something different. And I saw that kayak. I mean, that was like just a beacon. And I went to it and I bought it and it was just like there was no turning back. And it was like I didn't know anything about it. I remember that summer that I got it. I was training soccer still and I was like dabbling in the, you know, what is this thing that I got? And I was like a curiosity. And I'd take it out to, you know, lake or a river and I'd have two friends and I'd be like, all right, I think you're supposed to be able to flip this thing upside down and you're supposed to be able to get it up again, roll it. I think they call it a roll. And they'd be like, no way. And I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna try it. And I'd like just go underwater with the paddle and like flail around and I'd be like, all right, and I'd come back up, I'd be like, what did I do? You know, so it was like a very, you know.
Organic.
One of, this guy, Tom McEwen, you know, he's a legendary, you know, iconic guy in the sport, back from Potomac where I kind of really cut my teeth paddling, but he wrote, his brother Jamie, who just passed away, like wrote this article about he and Tom going down this place called the Linville Gorge, or I think it was that. And it was the Gauley. They were talking about the Gauley in West Virginia. And it had just started. People were kayaking it, and like Tom, when they went for the first time, there were, you know, they could have followed people down, but Tom refused because he wanted to see it fresh, like, you know, with his own eyes for the first time. And so I feel like a lot of my kayaking experience has been that way. Like I've discovered it fresh for myself. Like I didn't take a lesson or follow anyone. Like I taught myself how to do it. I watched some videos, like worked with friends, and just kind of experienced it that way. I mean, but it's probably been the single. It was. I mean, it really. I feel like that more than anything, you know, set the trajectory for my life for a decade, you know, paddling.
I was going to ask you that today. What was like your thing that kind of just matured your mind to catch up with your body? Because I'm pretty sure you've always been athletic, or really blew.
I feel like that's probably still a process that's happening, you know. When I was first paddling, it was probably dark. It was a little dark, I would say. You know, there was a part of me that was like a little lost and, you know, wanted to throw caution to the wind and was attracted to the risk, you know. And it was sort of probably more, I think it was probably like there was like a darker side of myself that was, you know, influencing some of the decisions that I made and like why I was attracted to it, like ego, you know, things like that, in terms of this is different, like this is going to be my thing. That's going to make me separate, you know. It's like you know, it's that thing. It's like this is really organic or authentic, and you know, if you take those things like authenticity and like something like organic, or and the intentions that are driving those things aren't clean, that gets in the way of like the true spirit of what it is you're trying to do, if that makes sense. You know, what was it I was reading the other day? It was like the idea of you know, if you're just like trying to listen to the hipster music and, you know, buy all the organic food and be as authentic as possible for reasons that are like egocentric or, you know, self-separating, you know, so you can be like, you know, this thing that's, you know, self-seeking elitism in a way, like that's not what it's about. So I feel like, you know, there were aspects of that were early on in my, when I was paddling. You know, it was conquering.
Yeah,
It was conquering the river. It was.
we talked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was similar to me in conquering South America.
Right.
It was a feeling, but it was also, I want to be unique. I want to stand out for something. I do this. I'm stronger than you.
Yeah.
I threw myself out into the middle
Right.
of nowhere, and you couldn't do what I do.
And you can do what I do.
And a part of me still
Which is-
believes that, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, part of me, yeah. I mean, there are definitely parts of me that believe that too sometimes. Which I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, you know. It helps you compete and helps you like achieve goals. But I think you just have to be aware, you know, have to be mindful of what all the aspects are. You know, it's not not gonna get rid of those things, but you're at least gonna be aware, like, all right, this is an aspect of, it's part of being, you know, human. But yeah, really just, I mean, all of that, you know, and then combined with, and I fell into teaching. And when I was hired, I told you this too the other day, you know, I was hired as a special education teacher, and then the environmental science teacher quit 2 weeks in, and then, you know, it was sort of a natural, I was there, so I was the guy that filled that space, and that's how I got into it, and I loved it, and, you know, I felt like, all right, I can have this career, this feels good, I'm doing something good, I'm working with kids, but I can, you know, in those younger days, I was really just, I wanted a paycheck and I wanted some space and time to just travel for a couple months a year, and it really afforded me the opportunity to do that. I mean, what did I have to teach in the beginning? I didn't have anything to teach. I could get some kids through a textbook, but I mean, I needed to live my life
Right.
in my 20s, you know.
Right. I feel the same way.
And I had to, I had to have some form of income to be able to do that, and that was the best compromise I could find. And I had friends that would, you know, did the rafting thing and, you know, GIS or different jobs, but I'm pretty happy with the way things went with the teaching. And then now it's sort of a, you know, now that I have some like mileage underneath my belt, I can look back and be more reflective about the, you know, what I was up to and like how that ties into what I'm doing now. And, you know,
You can be more settled. You can be
Yeah, I
more
think I can be
content that
more
you can
yeah,
more settled.
I can definitely be more settled these days, because I still like to go. I mean, I still need, I think that'll always be a part of who I am. Like, I'm always going to need to like get out for a couple days and like get lost and then come back. You know, but much less than you know, I feel like I've got a lot of that out of my system. I went places, saw things, kayaked Big Rapids, you know, and now it's, you know, and having a daughter and a family, I mean, I can go away. The feeling's just so different. Like, I can go away for a day and it can feel like just a long time, you know, and I have to be disciplined about, can't be wishy-washy, you know, I've got to remind myself, like, I can't be wishy-washy with, like, if I'm going to go kayak this river, like, I'm going to be like, all right, I'm going to pour all of myself into this for this day and not be somewhere in between, but, you know, this is a part of who I am, so I'm going to commit to this part right now, and then I'm going to come back, and then, you know, then I get to be with my family and my daughter and do that. And I think it's a good feeling, because, you know, when you're in my 20s, it was when you're sorting through things still, it's like, I don't know. I feel like my kayaking's improved too, by virtue of just being a little bit more settled and disciplined, and like knowing exactly what it is. I'm knowing more concretely what I'm committed to and why I'm committed to those things.
I want to direct a little bit. You said that kayaking or the river really shaped the next 10 years or a decade of your life up until now, I suppose.
Yeah.
So what is that energy, Mother Nature, river? What is the outdoors to you in your life? What?
I mean, it's everything. I think the biggest thing we're all missing, not all of us, but I think if I think about the world at large, and teaching environmental science for almost a decade, after I was like 5, 6, 7 years in, it was just becoming more and more apparent that I'm focused on talking about all of these problems, about things that are, overpopulation, overconsumption, all these huge global issues, and I don't know, and it's just sort of the feeling of like sitting in the classroom and talking about those things. I feel pretty helpless to actually affect some sort of change. So that drove me to go out and do projects. And I thought, like, if I go live these experiences, if I build a vegetable oil car and drive it 12,000 miles across the country, if I'm out kayaking and exploring, if I go to Peru with a group of kids and we build this guinea pig barn, if I start a company called My Own Backyard and tie kids to food, water, waste, energy resources that are relative to their region and their home, and take them on this awesome adventure and just connect them, and then it all started to come down to connection. If you can't protect, and it's not even about protecting, it's about being in a relationship with something, that's productive or that's just peaceful. You don't want to be at war with the world, and I think a lot of what we do, a lot of what humanity does in modernity, I guess. You throw words like modern culture, whatever that means. You just be careful about like how you use those terms, but the duality of like man, nature being separated. I think like we can't, like that window needs to close. We can't. There are reasons for that. Nature was often killing us in the beginning, but now it's it's very clearly the opposite, right? Like it's not nature that's like so much able to overcome humans, which it still can, but humans have kind of leveled the playing field and now can threaten like the very biotic systems that support all of us. So if we're gonna, we need to quickly like rectify and recognize what that is. And it's not it's all those other things that need to be kind of addressed. Like it starts with the connective piece. And so that's what all this is to me, and I just have felt those things so strongly since I've been a kid. It's a haven. It's a place to take a breath. It's a place to just, remember we can't do anything without all of this. Nothing that we do, and we should act. We should act in ways that help support nature, and in turn that's what supports humanity. Healthy civilizations. And we should think carefully about, what kind of civilizations are we building? What kind of community do we want to live in,
What do you feel when you're on the river?
Being on the rivers is really, now, as I've sort of, before I was saying it was like there were some maybe not so nice things kind of tied into my draw to the river and like why I wanted to do it. Those were some things. I mean, I think really it's just connection, and it's an expression. I think it's an artistic expression. I play the guitar a little bit, and I never was innately gifted with in any art, drawing or painting or anything like that, but I got the gift of my body, being most of the time relatively well coordinated and things like that. So to take that and to draw lines on the river, that's what it is. You're painting from point A to point B, catching eddies, going over a waterfall. I mean, you're completely blank and totally aware. Completely blank and totally aware. Totally connected, totally plugged in. It's a, in thinking about mindfulness or something like that, it's like a super highway to this. It's slightly different, It's not the same as like, okay, taking a mindful pause and focusing on your breath, because whitewater, it's like it's like sticking your finger in a light socket. It's like boom. I mean, it's like power and energy, and like, you're just in it, and everything else just goes away because it has to, because you've got to make that line. And I think that's a pretty beautiful thing when you make that line. That's what it's about. People look at it and think it's like, oh, those are daredevils, it's risky. It's not. The real truth is that you look at something and you're like, if I'm going to do something, I want to be 99% sure I'm going to come out okay on the other side. If I was going out to the river and every time it was like 50-50, I'd be dead. I'd be dead 100 times by now. You don't want it to be that. You want it. Sometimes you can, take your chances a little bit. Maybe push it. That's when I feel like you're pushing an envelope or pushing your own edge. And that's a very individual thing about. I think that's where the freedom aspects comes in. Is like you're the agent. It's your choice to decide like what you want to do, and then that comes back to like, well, why you gotta be honest with yourself about why you're doing something. But I like to keep it within the realm of what I know I'm comfortable with doing,
So you're trying to bring that to the students here, to the leadership portal.
I think that's a lot to bring. I don't know how you would do that, but I think offering an avenue to participate in your landscape, Yeah. It's just an avenue for participating. Just still go. Just I think there are some folks in the world of outdoor adventure education that feel like maybe just some of the things I've been reading lately, there's a kind of a push towards de-skilling. I think it all depends on, like, every kid is going to come to the table with different prerequisite skills. In this program, we've got people from Zimbabwe, there's kids from China, there's kids that have never taken a walk in the woods before. I mean, it's pretty extraordinary. And then you've got kids that have a lot of experience and they're ready to dive in here and roll the kayak, like, and I don't really have to even show them two things, and they're just off on their own, you know. But it's all those different edges, you know, what people come to the table with. And then, you know, two things, everyone's going to have different desires to how they want to participate. I think the thing is just to get them to realize, like, there's something here to participate in that's really amazing. And here's something, you know, it doesn't have to be kayaking. We just use that as a medium here. It could be lots of different things, but here's a way to, like, participate in what's around you, to, like, feel the wind, to listen to the sounds, to feel the rain. You know, here's a way to do that. And that's powerful. Like, if you can get something like that to stick, you know. Maybe someone gets away from this experience and they like, well, water's just, man, I don't know, maybe that's just too much for me, but man, I sure do like being outside, and that was awesome. And so I'll just, you know, maybe just pay attention in a little bit of a different way.
What are you seeing in this portal with your outdoor leadership with the kids? What have you seen thus far?
I've seen some awesome things, like, you know, teaching them the wet exit, and then the next day we paddled out to that island way out there, and one girl said, oh, I understand, like, why we learned that yesterday. We had to learn that, otherwise we couldn't come out here. And to me that was like, all right, that says it all, like, about kind of what I think. It's like, yeah, you've got to, it's like anything, like, the more skill you have, like, the more intricate your journey becomes. Like, the more you learn and develop a set of knowledge, or, you know, if you just, it's like when I started kayaking, I didn't know anything. It wasn't a very graceful thing, you know, but if you build that body of knowledge up over time, it becomes a piece of art, you know, over the years. It becomes a statement, it becomes a story, it becomes your piece to share. I mean, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, just linking those pieces, that was an amazing moment for me, just like hearing that girl say that. This is why we did that. Yeah, because you can, like, now you can go do that, you know, and then what's gonna, you know, and then after you do that, then what does that do to you? You know, how does that change you? But if you just stay on the shore, right, and you're just on the shore, like, you can only get so much.
Seems as though all the kids are participating too. It's being out here there. I don't know, all the fears that we had and that they had,
yeah,
are kind of disappearing to an extent.
I think so, you know.
Or at least they're pushing through those.
I think there's definitely, it feels like they're more willing to, like, push through them. I think probably the process of them being involved and just like, here, I'm going to show you this, and then you have to go learn it. Kids are so used to, here's what I want you to know for the test, and then it's like, and it's crazy. They like, what's the answer? What's the answer? What's the answer? There are no answers. You know, there are answers, but the answers are just the tip of the iceberg. It's like, you get a lifetime to walk this planet. and experience what's here. You get to experience relationships, you get to experience all of this. You get one chance to do that. And if you're always trying to find the answer, like, you're missing the whole damn point of the whole thing. It's not about the answer. It just is. It is. You know?
Yeah.
It just is. We're here. We're gonna die. It's a magical mystery land on the in-between parts.
Yeah, dude. That's a good interview.
What am I getting too crazy?
No. No, we just got 31 minutes down. That